Hi everyone, I'm Veronica Bartolini with Codebreaker Real Talk, and today we have Gloria Haas on our show. She's a writer and author, super soldier, abductee, and we have my co-host and friend, brother Chad Cooper. Welcome, guys. What's going on? It's almost Halloween. I have my witch's brew. So anyway, thanks for being on the show, guys. So I just finally get to talk a little bit more with Miss Haas, Gloria. Brian Sang told me, hey, there's a lady, her name's Gloria Haas. She would like to talk to you. She's interested in the SSP, the Hulk program. And I said, oh, cool, okay, just send her along. And then we talked a little bit on Messenger, Gloria, and I sent you a little bit of my information, the videos, and then we said, hey, you live in Tucson too? Oh my gosh, let's meet. But things happen, and then I'm like, why don't we just do a show together? And I want to promote your books, and I want everybody here on Codebreaker Real Talk to know your story, your history. How the heck did you become an author? Are you self-published? What was the abduction about? How did you learn you were SSP? Who were the first people you contacted? Do you still have those memories? Things like that. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go for it.
Well, you're gonna have to feed me the questions because I won't remember all of them.
Okay. Sounds good. Or chat. Start from your childhood and where if you want to say where you're born or how you were raised or your parents, anything.
Well, I had first contact in this life in human form because I'm a starseed from the benevolent gray extraterrestrials, and I was born into a stillborn baby. But growing up in California, I had my first UFO experience, and there were times when it was like, I know I'm human, I'm in a human body, but I had to act as a human. And then there were times I would look up in the sky and say, can't you take me home now? And so it's like my parents watched Star Trek. They believed in Star Trek. All of that was fantasy. And my brother believed he was adopted. He was by my dad, found out many years later after my mom passed and dad both passed away. And I don't know if my brother ever knew we shared the same mom, but we didn't share the same biological father. My dad adopted him. Oh gosh, so many family lies. But anyway, my brother and I used to play Star Trek and go around in a make-believe spaceship. And I said, where are we going? He said, we're outside. I'm gonna go find my family because I know that I'm adopted. I said, well, let's go look for my family too among the stars while we're out there. And he goes, what? I said, yeah, I'm not from here. I want to go, find my family. I want to go jump on their spaceship. And he laughed at me and said, you're crazy. Just said, go away. Told my mom, told my dad. And then all they did was laugh at me. So I just like, okay, this isn't working. And I basically became very withdrawn. And it always felt like there were eyes watching me from up in the sky, and it just made me feel eerie on the human side. But I didn't start having abductions that I can remember until I was in my 20s and became impregnated. But as a teenager is when my dad sold me into the secret space programs.
Oh, okay. How did he sell you, and how did you find out that he sold you? Did you have memories, dreams? Did somebody tell you? And did you go along with that pregnancy? Did it bleed through to this 3D?
What happened was my dad was transferred from Quartz Hill, California, which is in the Mojave Desert outside of Lancaster, up to Santa Maria, California. And he applied for assistant service manager with a large retail, at the time was a large retail chain. They're no longer in existence. They do have some stores, but I can't go into which ones. I want to But anyway, his supervisor told him that see, we were supposed to, my mom, my brother, and I were all supposed to move with my dad. And my mom said, no, I'm not taking the kids out of school. I had already started my sophomore year of high school. My brother started his senior year. So it was like, I'm not taking kids out. They've already had, like a couple of months of class, we'll just wait a couple of more months and we'll go in December. Well, because in Court Sale, we had school break in December, or Christmas break. And then when we moved to Santa Maria, they had, I believe, all of January off. So it was a boring 6 weeks, to be quite honest. But after my dad said, no, you really have to come up now because my boss and supervisor won't understand. My mom said, well, they're going to have to. So it was like a 3 to 4 hour drive, but my dad said, make sure you guys dress in your Sunday best because we're going to go straight. When you come to town, we're going to go straight over to my supervisor's house. You have to be met that night. And my mom said, we're going to be hungry and we're not going to really be dressed. And my dad goes, oh no, you will wear your Sunday best. So we had to go dress up after we packed our stuff, got dressed into our clothes at the house, and we drove. And my brother was in the one car, and I was with my mom in the other. This is before I could drive legally. And even though my dad taught me when I was 9 how to drive a manual. And it was like, we got there to the hotel. My dad hopped in the car and said, come on, we're going. My mom said, can we at least unpack, and stuff? And we're hungry. We need a snack. We haven't eaten. Because my dad had assured us they were going to have dinner at the supervisor's house. What they had was a party already started, alcohol, chips, dip, and that was it. So we met everyone, we were tired, and I remember this happening. The memory is actual. And then we were ushered into the living room area to watch, my brother and I to watch TV. And my dad came in, introduced my brother and I to his supervisor, and there were men in black suits there. And after an hour, my mom said, I don't know what you're going to do, Bill, but I'm taking the kids. We need to eat and we're tired. It's been a long day. And my dad looked at his supervisor and they gave permission because they always to leave because they always held it over my dad's head. If you don't do this, you'll lose your job and you'll never get back into this company. And we can assure you that there will be money involved.
Gloria,
So
thank you. Real quick, can you tell the public what your dad did or no? Or that's secret also?
I don't want to say what he did. He was assistant service manager is all that I can say.
Was it involving technology?
No,
Okay.
Can you
that
repeat the
was
last thing you said, Gloria? You said money would be involved or else. What was there was an or in there, right? You can do this,
or else you'd lose your job.
lose your job. Okay. But if you do it, there's money to be had, right?
Mhm.
Which is a lie, right?
No, they
Okay.
paid off a 20-year house
Not you
mortgage.
lying, but I mean them lying about, we always feel like that's the incentive. We'll pay you, but then they don't. Okay.
No, they did. My
Wow.
parents paid off their house mortgage in a 20-year mortgage in 7 to 9 years.
I understand now.
Yeah.
Did you?
I think Veronica's mother had you're suspicious of something similar with your mother as
Oh
well.
yeah. When
So
yeah, when
okay, I understand that one then. Okay then.
yeah, when I spoke to Peter the Insider from ACIO when they took me at a year and a half, because I have memories of being taken at 3, but they took me a year and a half. He said that they paid my mom $10,000 to put me in a program, and she says I never got the money, and I put you in Head Start because everybody was putting their kids, and they knocked on my door and said, "Do you want to put your kid in, Head Start at 3 years old?" But she never got the money, so that's why I think Chad was asking. Do you remember, Gloria, or your mother having to sign anything that night, or did they make you turn around like to see your body? Like sounds like child trafficking as well, but did do you remember what you saw on the screens that night? Because you know he did it on purpose to starve you. They do this to us in the programs. So that way you're like easily, you know, either your superpowers of anger comes out because you're so hungry, or yes, I'll do anything because I'm so hungry and tired. You know what I mean? Do you remember anything weird about that night before you go on? Sorry.
No, all we were tired. You know, we had soda to drink and chips to eat. And it got to the point where, you know, when you just stop eating because it doesn't satisfy and you're just like, why am I eating this? And no, because they saw us when we came in and watched my brother and I walk into the living room. So they got to see what we looked like anyway, standing up. And then when we left, and when I I had the complete look over when I was in the program on a metal table and having a female exam, I was completely naked. That I do remember.
You were that age as well? How old? About 9, 10?
No, I was in my junior year of high school.
That's the memory that you got after you left?
That I remember. That's a memory I had, and I thought I was having a dream, but you know, with it, but I also saw two classmates in the same, you know, in this room, and they were raped. And they remembered it. They weren't drugged. I was drugged, and they also wiped my memory where their memories weren't wiped. And you know, and I could see her going, one of the girls, April, going, Gloria, come on. And I'm just saw everything was in a daze and in a fog. And I remember that. And then I also remembered it in my 20s. But what I thought over the years was a weird dreams that I was having when I was talking with Brian Singh was actually MK Ultra and what was going on at Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Tell us what was going on for those that don't know.
Vandenberg Air Force Base is about right outside of Lompoc, about a half an hour outside of Santa Maria. And it's an Air Force base where they did a lot of launches of rockets and I guess other things. But it was always hush hush and top secret. But I remember my dad would tell me, Gloria, you have a phone call, one of your friends is on the phone, and I would answer. And next thing I know, I'd look at my dad and he said, go, and I wouldn't have to say anything. He said, go ahead, because my dad knew. I'd hang up, and it was like being in a trance, got my car keys, got my purse, got in the car. And I remember part of driving to Lompoc, the windy road, I believe going down, I'm not sure now, but it was dark. And I remember going, and next thing I know, I remember coming out of the underground tunnel, you know, underneath the building, and there was a man in a suit at times, another wearing a hat with a trench coat, and he would wait for me and walk me to my car, and then I would remember being home and waking up the next day in bed.
How old were you when your friend would call you on the phone with obviously MK Ultras, you know, telling you what to do? Were you also in junior high then?
No, I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
That was my third year of high school, that my memory was wiped. But her and I spoke when we were both in our 40s. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you have to remember. And to this day, she won't talk to me.
Wait, well, what if you say, hey, why won't she talk to you? What if you say, I don't remember, but can you tell me what you remember about me? Because then maybe you can start yourself remembering or having the dreams. Why won't she talk to you? Because you don't
Because
remember?
she thought I was lying.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why she said, I have nothing to do with you ever again. And I've sent her friend requests on Facebook, and she's active, but she won't have anything to do with me at all. And I'm just like, that, you know, that's her choice. And maybe she's put all this behind her. I don't know.
It sounds like
I can
she was
only
your
imagine.
hacker.
It
Sorry,
must
go
have been
ahead.
quite traumatic for her, whatever she experienced, you know,
For
back.
both her and her sister, yes.
I feel right now with what you're telling me and what I'm seeing is that she was used as your handler because she was your friend, and they might have just wiped her memory and that's why she doesn't remember, obviously, but you remember. And
She
that makes her,
remembers,
she
No, it's the
remembers.
other
remembers
way
being
around.
raped. She
Oh,
remembers being raped. And
She
she was
remembers being
used
raped,
as a
but
sex slave.
Gloria
right.
doesn't, and that's why they're
Okay.
kind of upset. Yeah.
So, all right, because I was thinking in the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, if she remembers and doesn't want to tell Gloria, then maybe she was used as your handler.
No, you have it right.
No,
She does remember. Yeah. It's not that she doesn't want to tell Gloria. It's just that she thinks Gloria is lying
because she
because
would
Why would she?
she
explain,
can't believe that her mind would be swiped. Yeah, exactly.
right. And it was
Oh,
like,
I
what are
get
you,
it. I
yes,
get
because I would say, April, what are you talking about? I
I
don't know what you're talking about. And she'd say, you have to because you were there.
Oh my gosh. That must be terrible.
Sad. That feels really sad. Yeah.
I totally do understand you though, because I've been in similar situations, which I won't take time to talk about that, but I do understand. Like, it's hard.
It is, and some people from high school think I'm crazy, so I went through a really weird, tough time mentally back 9 years ago, and I unfriended some people on Facebook, and also to and some of them unfriended me and have nothing to do with me because they think I'm absolutely crazy and weird. So it's like
Not
I've
alone.
lost, I've lost quite a few high
Yeah.
school friends because of that.
Oh yeah.
May
And
May I ask about your school life though? Did you move around as a child, or did you go to the same district?
we moved around quite a bit.
So how long did you go to that high school, if I may ask?
2.5 years.
Yeah,
I graduated there. Before that,
that's like me. Yeah, I get
yeah,
it.
living in the Mojave Desert. We moved when I was going to start second grade, and we left, the first half of my sophomore year of high school. And these were kids I grew up with. And my mom kept saying, you were ready for a change. You were bored living there. We lived 2 doors down from a park. And if my friends didn't go, yeah, I was bored. But, it was, my friends were in the area or they lived where you had to go by car. And some of them I didn't know had moved away. But still, I would like to have graduated high school with them because they were consistent. They were my constant. And my brother had to graduate from a different high school in his senior year.
Hmm.
Yeah, we moved around too. My father moved us. I was gonna ask you two things. One, have you ever had experiences where you move things with your mind, or maybe dreams that you've used like something with your hands? Or do you have any kind of dreams where, because I know underground, obviously they used us for, going off planet or getting other kids to comply to their darn sex kitten program, and also for us to be used to ask military police or other people information. That's what the sex kitten program is. Do you have anything that you see in life now that you've had to use your what we call superpowers, because we're born with them? Do you have any memories of being electrocuted? Do you have any memories of being in another country, on a train, or on an airplane, somebody handing you, I'm speaking of all this at once, that way I can get your brain to just, I do this on purpose, that way I help people to just remember. Anything like a pen was given to you, because I remember a black pen was given to me and said, you're going to use it this way, that way, and I was on an airplane. So do you have anything? Have you lifted a heavy vehicle maybe when you needed to, or your mattress, anything that you, because I feel you have these powers. That's why I'm asking.
I have telekinesis and I was able to use it when I was in my 20s. And also in high school, my senior year, I could lay down and I was babysitting And I was laying on the back of the bed, and I was babysitting 3 kids, and 2 of them, a boy and a girl, were like, I bet we can hold you down. And I said, oh no, I'll flip you. And I knew that I could. And they're like, no. So one had me by one arm, one had me by the other, and they were pulling their whole weight because I'm laying on the bed, and they're pulling their whole weight to hold me on the ground. And I was able, it was weird because I just thought in my, like, that switch that you can flip. I flipped that switch, everything went dark, and I flipped them, and my arms were free. And the flip switch came back, and I was sitting up, and I looked, well, where are they? And they're laying on the floor and go, how did you do that? And I said, you want to, they go, let's do it again. And I went, no, that's okay. I was a live-in sitter at the time, and it was my mom's hairdresser's children, and they were gone taking care of her mom, who was in hospice and who was it was in the process of passing. So I said, no, no, let's not. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah.
So I used to be able to turn water when it was running from cold to hot. And when growing in my 20s and stuff, when I would get really mad, dishes would rattle and move and come out of cupboards and hit the floor.
Oh yeah, I believe you. Believe me.
So
I've broken a phone before without touching it, and it's like double screen for years. I
From
was just
cold
mad.
to hot. From
Mhm.
cold to hot.
yeah,
That is cool. Yeah, I
Like
have
what
this.
quantity of water? Like how much water could you
it
use?
was just running out of the tap.
Mhm.
And now I can get, if the water isn't boiling fast, it's not even coming to a boil, I can look at it and say boil, and within a minute, and it's
Yeah.
rapid boiling.
So it's just the opposite for you, because they always say that a watched pot never boils.
Well, I have to tell
Yeah.
it to boil. If
Exactly.
I just watch
Okay.
it, it
Oh,
won't, but I have to tell it to boil.
oh,
It's cool. I've had instances
Wow.
where I've told the AC to turn on because it would just not turn on. It was like, and I just said, turn on now, and it turns on. I'm like, how did I do that? Or there was a fire in I always talk about this one. There's a fire when I was baking something. There was a fire, and I opened it, and I'm like, holy F, I don't have a fire extinguisher. And I was like alone, and it was in my little apartment 4 years ago. And what I did is I went like this with my hands, and I said, freeze. And the fire went out. I thought it was going to burn the apartment. And it's just so cool that we can do all this stuff, you know? How about you, Chad?
I can start hurricanes and take it up the coast. So I have to be
Hey,
careful. If I'm upset with someone, I start a storm
yeah.
and it turns into a hurricane.
And when
But
I
I
cry,
haven't
it
done that
rains.
lately. Huh?
When I cry, it rains. What about you?
Yep.
Yes. And you, Chad? Do you have anything like that sometimes?
me?
Yeah.
Oh no, because I'm curious about the blood types
Ask her. Ask
between
her.
you two, because I'm different than you. I don't have these experiences because I'm not O negative. And I'm curious if maybe Gloria, if you're aware of your blood type, if
Are you
this is an
negative,
O
Gloria?
negative trait.
No, I'm B positive.
Oh, I'm A positive. Okay, that's interesting then. Okay. So it
I like
doesn't necessarily strictly correlate
Yeah.
with the O negatives. Okay. I just
Hmm.
noticed a lot of what you're talking about, I detect with the O negatives, with the
Nope.
special abilities and everything.
Interesting. Ooh, I'm gonna have to research that more.
Me too.
Yeah, because Max Spears talks about how they take the AB negatives and then that they're really important and that they take the O negatives. So I'm O negative, and what they use us O negatives for usually is to go in, kick ass, right? Do what you gotta do, and then they ask the positives, the plus or the O positives, to come and clean up. Oh, now we gotta do this, not, but and then we
But
can
we
run
enjoy
really,
it.
really fast, huh?
We enjoy it.
Yes, you enjoy it, Chad.
I take
Oh my
pride
gosh,
in what I do.
this is so exciting. I love this show. Oh my gosh, I wanted to go on forever, right? Oh, we got to be careful what we say, right, Gloria? Okay, so I want to ask you I want to go back to where you had this thing where your dad would say, okay, go with your friend, and then your friend now, she remembers, but you don't remember. Have you tried talking to her sister?
She passed.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Has your mom Did your mom tell you anything before she passed on, or your father? Did you ever question them, or this is after they passed? Because they say that when our parents die, we get more of our memories back.
Actually, I had the memories and I would tell my mom, I had this weird dream. And she would look at my dad, he'd look at her and say, well, it was weird. That's definitely weird. What did you eat before you went to bed, before you had that dream? What did you eat? Because carbs will go ahead and do that.
They always would say that. Did your mom know they were raping you? How could she?
She didn't care. She got the money.
Oh
They're
my
paying
God.
off a house mortgage. And now that my dad was in management, she had to wear clothes. And we're talking about in the 1970, we're talking 1971. Yeah, we're talking 1971 and 72. We went in 71 in December. Yeah, 1972. My mom now had to dress up because they were going to dinners, and you know how you can't wear the same dress twice. So she was back in 1972. She was going to a boutique in Santa Barbara and would spend $75 to $100 for an outfit. And I asked her, where are you getting this money? Well, your brother left home. Then we have all this extra money.
Why
But
did your
yet
brother leave home? Sorry.
he was a senior in high school and left home to get married, and he went to college and joined the service.
Okay, what service?
He went into the army.
Did he ever tell you about what happened to him? Because I'm sure he was used too.
He would not talk about any of it. He would talk to my mom, but he refused to talk to me
Did you ever
because
hear the
then it
conversation?
would be acknowledging that something happened to me. It was all about him. My mom and brother were very narcissistic. They had similar personalities. It had to be all about them.
I
And
think
I was a nothing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry too. I think he was jealous of you because you had more abilities than he did.
He was jealous of me because I knew who my parents were, and he didn't know who his were.
Did you ever hear their conversations like, you know, you know,
I did hear when in my senior year of high school, I had a Volkswagen Beetle that I would drive. My dad bought it for me to just use to go to and from school. And I remember locking the keys in the car, went into the house, and it was just a habit of locking the door, you know, and I went to the house to get my books. And so I come back out and you can just lock the door with, you know, the handle, but I went, uh-oh. And I went back out to the car to open the door because I left, I was checking to see what I had left in there, and I couldn't get the door open. So I went back into the house and I called my dad at work and I said, Dad, the car's, you know, I can't get in the car. And I told him what happened. And he was really mad. So he hopped into one of the service trucks that was currently being serviced, and he drove home because he said they're going to have to take it for a test drive. He said, I'll take it because my daughter needs to get to school. And by the time he got home, he was pissed off. He was so mad, standing there screaming at me outside. He lay down on the ground and saw that there was a problem with the fuel line and there was gas trickling out. And had I gotten in the car, and it was a manual, had I gotten in and driven it the way that it was rigged, it would have gone up in flames. And he apologized to me. And I remember when my mom came home that night from work, she went back to days because in my junior year, she transferred to working nights. She was a registered nurse. So she would work 3 in the afternoon to 11:30 at night and get home around midnight to 12:30, depending on it. She stayed and talked with people at work. And then I was supposed to be in my bedroom, and I heard my parents talking. My dad was talking loud and he was upset. So I tiptoe down the hallway and I'm standing outside the dining room, and my dad said that to my mom she would have been dead. And she said, do you think that's a warning? And he goes, Gloria, are you out there? And I get back to my room and slowly close the door, and he'd be right on the, you know, right there. And I went, hi, Dad, what? And he goes, were you just standing out there? No, your mother and I are talking and you were not to listen to what we were talking about. He knew I lied.
Yes.
No, I
Yes.
wasn't out there, Dad.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a warning. And
Yeah, it
if
was.
and if it wasn't for your abilities and your subconscious saying, hey, no,
Well,
things
I
like that
could,
do happen to us. Like we forget things. You could be in an accident, something can happen, and then you're mad because, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. But we actually save ourselves that way, don't you think? Oftentimes.
I think so. Because I could remember my senior year of high school, but
Tell
I
me
don't
about
remember my junior. And my senior year of high school biology, I'm sitting in biology class and I go, if you remember, same teacher as, I had in my sophomore, and then apparently he's the only one that taught bio, I would have him in my junior year. And we're sitting there, and my lab partner, we were sitting there, David and Judy, and he said, and the teacher said, we are going to have to cut a frog. And David goes, I don't want to do it. I said, there's no way I'm cutting it. So we're both going to fail. He goes, I'll do it. No problem. If you help me with, the test. And David was, I mean, he was really right there with high grades and everything. And I went home and I asked my mom, because I couldn't remember my junior year of high school biology. I asked her, can I see my report card? She goes, what for? I said, I'm just curious what I did in science. I got a B plus, or an A plus. And then I ended up with a B plus at the end of my senior year because was trying to play catch up.
Can I just share with you what happened with
Mhm.
me when I did that? That was in my sophomore year. I was at Sunnyside because I went to two high schools. I didn't want to do it, but there was boys in my group and they said, I dare you. I bet you can't do it. You're, a crybaby. I'm like, I'm not gonna cry, shoot. I'm gonna do it. So I cut the frog, and then the next time we had the pigs, the baby fetuses, and then I started cutting their eyes, their ears. We started mutilating them because I was told to do it. And I get really sad about that. They did a lot of things to us. I know that I used to hang out around with these boys where we would climb trees and everything. And they would always say, get the cat from the tail. So I'd get the cat from the tail, swing it around and throw it against my dad's truck. Or I would burn, and I'm not proud of this, I would burn ants with the little glass. I would throw salt at snails and crunch them with my cousin. We were being abused as kids, and we thought that we were cool because we're one of the big boys. But now that I'm older and I had my awakening, I I love animals and I'm all about protecting them. I rescued many animals. We'll just leave it at that. And I love them, and and it hurts to know that they did this to us. Like, how could they MK Ultra us to do this? How could they? Maybe they wanted to see how far we would go. And sometimes I see these people like putting bets on our avatar. We'll just say our digital twin. They have bets. They're like, oh, I bet you she can do that. I bet you he can do that. And they have like these little gods like Nike, Fubu, um, Puma, what's the other one? Under Armour. And they're like in the movie Gamer. Oh, she's going to do that, or he's going to do that. Let's play them as our little toys, soldiers. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not. I cannot believe. I mean, there's more, obviously. But what can we do now, Gloria? Or Chad? That's why we're here, right? We're talking about this. And
They were monsters, and they are monsters who's behind this. They desensitized us because I was in the Assassin program and I did not have a problem killing people in the Assassin program because they used the rage and anger I had towards my parents. And they used that, and they would put in the simulation my parents' face on there, and I didn't have a problem at all killing my parents. But And then they started putting me in the psychic assassin program. So then I could kill people with my mind or go and beat them up with my mind, because I can touch people, distance, distance touching. And also I can project myself to someone can see me in their house or
Same
next
here.
to them.
Same here. I was in the same program you were then. What, may I ask what year you were born?
56.
56? Okay. All right. That's awesome. I mean,
Well,
it's not awesome.
Rocco also, he's the exact same programming. Everything you just said, he went through the same thing, even to the psychic attacking. He talks about that as well.
Yeah,
when you hear that. So,
I know they use me and one of my cousins, and we talk about it all the time, like, because I was even thinking about this last night. I'm like, if my cousin and I always joke, if looks could kill, we can.
Yep.
We can go into their minds and stop their heart. We can blow them up. We can do all kinds of stuff. So we have to be very careful. And I just, I don't know, man. We're here now. Gloria, tell me about your books. How did you start writing? When did you discover, I better get this stuff written down? Tell us about your books, and then we'll go back to all this stuff.
Okay. I just want people to know this was done to us against our will. We did not willingly do this, and we still don't willingly do it. The people in the secret space programs use us and trained as black ops. And how I got to writing my book is I had found Brian, was looking at, because I finished my 3 UFO books, and I saw Full Disclosure Now conference, thinking it might be UFO extraterrestrial related. And were in the middle of, or had underway with 2024 conference in Florida. So I sent him a message, and he got back to me after, he was back home, the conference wound down. And we were on video call, and I would ask him certain questions. I said, what do you mean secret space program? And he would explain to me a few things. And I said, well, I don't remember my junior year of high school. And he said, your memory was wiped. And then I started messaging him different things. And then we spoke again on another video call, and he said, Gloria, you need to write your story. You really need to get this down. And I'm like, okay, I didn't want to, because I had been receiving death threats, because Brian thought it was a frightened whistleblower, not wanting anything to do with it. But this guy asked pointed questions. I had met him in a CE5 group, and he started bringing up the programs he was in, and I was starting to investigate, because somebody had told me in 2023, one of those paid government naysayers which was Twitter then, said, oh, these are false memories, and because they're paid to do this, to debunk us. And then I started thinking MK Ultra. And then at the time, I had Life of a Visionary podcast, which I don't anymore. And I even deleted that channel out on Rumble. And I asked people, I would relate, these were dreams I was having, and don't remember my junior year. If you can have anything you can do, help me. So then I was, and I was saying, okay, God, can you lead me in the right direction? Well, he led me to a video with Costas, who runs the CE5 group. And I joined, and then Costas added me. So this is God's way of getting me to where I needed to be. So the man and I, we started messaging, and then he was asking questions, and I could just start seeing everything. And I'm typing it back as fast as I could. And he goes, is this memory, or are you remote viewing? And I knew it was memory. And I told him, in case it was part of the government people, I said remote viewing, because they already tried kidnapping me in 2022. And then he was saying, well, why don't you write? He said, you can use this information. And I thought it was being set up. And I said, no, you write about it. It's your story to tell. And then I didn't hear from him for a couple of months, and then he wrote back and said, you can do whatever you want with this information. Do not include my name or any part of it because I'm attached to breathing. Because he said they tried kidnapping him. And what I did was I typed out the entire conversation. I left parts out that didn't need to be told about his family. I left that out, but I did type the rest without his name. And I even took some screenshots and took his name and off of Messenger and even his picture, because I didn't want anything to come back to him. And I put a couple of those in the book so people would know that I didn't make it up. And I went ahead and put that in there. But I even thought about not writing it, but doing it in fiction form. And Brian said, Gloria, if you do that, you're going to disqualify yourself. You're discrediting your story. So I prayed about it and I thought, I knew I was going to tell this story in the last chapter of my life. I'm 68. This is the last chapter of my life. So I said, okay, I will write it. I mean, everything from the black helicopters shining their lights in my bedroom during this entire time, traumatizing my dog and being watched by the police department and by helicopter and on the street, people following me at certain times when I would walk my dog. And I know there's this one car that used to park itself out in front of the building. And I walked out in the back alleyway with my dog for her to go to the bathroom instead. And next thing you know, the guy in the car came around, rolled his window down and said, hi, I see you, basically. So I knew, all that is in my book, Abducted into the Secret Space Programs and Black Ops, and it's published and on Amazon. So I thought, people need to know this is the truth. This is what's going on, because I have friends that think I'm crazy. I don't know, Lord, what's going on with her. Say I'm possessed by demons. And it's like, no. And then I have found people in the program who are genuinely nice, very few I can feel close to and feel comfortable with. And I'm not out to get quantity of friends. I want quality of friends. And that's where it's coming from. And it's funny because in March, I heard the words, you need a Patreon account. So I wrote it down. I need a Patreon account. I'm like, okay, what's the topic? And I heard wise woman. And I just wrote it down. And I'm like, okay, put it in my diary for that and put it away. Well, this is what, September, October, okay, September, August, July. I heard, I started hearing things. And of course, you probably have had a flood of these visions. It's like, what do I do with them? And you can't find a home for them. And it's like things that are happening in real time to people. And I'm wondering now, is this part of the program, or did this happen? Because I've helped find people who've been killed and gone missing, and I've helped find them. And it's like, okay, and I'm like, alrighty. And then I went ahead and put up on my Patreon account for intuitive readings and got that set. And then I've never been into palmistry, but I was watching, a friend of mine has his own podcast, and I'm watching it Saturday night with him and another woman. We do a watch party in there, the three of us. And he had his palm read by her in person. They know each other face to face. And he said, she's really good. I'm like, yeah, okay. But I heard this, do it, just do it. So I had my palm read. And she said, you had 4 pregnancies, you have 4 children, 1 girl and 3 boys. Well, I had 4 pregnancies, and in my second pregnancy, I had a human child and an extraterrestrial. And my first child, I now know, was a boy. I had wondered if it was a girl. And my second one, my extraterrestrial children, I had 2 boys and a girl. So there are my 4 kids. And it was just like, okay. And then she said, your intuition is what you need to do now. And I would write to her and tell her what I was going to do. She said, yes. I said, but in the past it didn't work. She's because it wasn't meant for then. It's meant for now. Because I had been thinking back in July, okay, the book is going to, there's only so many book sales and it will probably peter out and it may not. But what am I going to do in between waiting for the conferences? And that's when it came up for me to reopen my intuitive business. So it's like now I can use all of my gifts and
That
go
is
there.
so awesome. I usually tell people to look in their palm, and if you have the M, that's the Merovingian bloodline, and it's also M for mermaids. That's what I tell them, and it's
I have the M on both of my hands.
yeah, it's we're a family.
So now I understand better why you said impregnated at 20, because it was not a conception. It was
My
a,
first child was a conception. My second child that did not survive, also put the fetus in my womb with my second pregnancy, and they impregnated me with my third and fourth.
there's another interesting word choice you used too. I was born into a stillborn baby. Were you a walk-in? Because most people would say I was born stillborn, but you said I was born into a stillborn baby.
Yes, I'm a walk-in.
You're a walk-in, okay.
I'm a walk-in too. But how was yours? How did you know you were? How did you know you were born into a stillborn? Because what happened to me was the light that came out of my chest, and then the star hit outside. So how did you know that you were walking?
I watched it happen.
Tell us.
I was when I was Itka on the spaceship, when I was a gray extraterrestrial, I had signed the contract of, I'm now told, you're signed up for all of this. I'm like,
See, we do sign up for it though. You said we didn't agree to this, but somewhere along the line we signed up for it, right?
but in our 3D bodies, we forget that,
Okay.
we sign up for it.
Because there's a debate about that out there right now.
I know.
Right.
Veronica says she did not sign up
I
for
always
that.
say I didn't sign up for it because I don't remember.
Exactly. It's like, you're kidding.
I do not consent, motherfuckers.
But I remember being in heaven in the holding room where the spirits are before they're born. And I also remember being on the spaceship when they said, it's time, Itka. And I would go in and I would die a physical death. I don't know how they did that, because next thing I remember, I'm in heaven waiting forever and ever and ever, thinking, when is it going to be my turn? And then I remember being in the hospital room and the doctor telling my earth mom, I'll just call her mom, my earth mom, Elaine, that your baby is stillborn and is not breathing. And she said, I cannot have a stillborn baby, because that was my dad's first that baby was my dad's first biological child. And she said, that's when they held the baby upside down and spanked him on the butt. And she said, would you, and it had been 5 minutes, and said, would you please smack the baby again? And next thing I know, he smacked the baby. And I could see him holding the baby up upside down. And next thing I know, I was whooshed inside the body and the baby was crying and screaming. And there was brain damage because of the 5 minutes that went by, because I remember growing up with a learning disability and as a human. And I remember it taking me a while to get used to this body. And as I grew, it's just like, this is weird. And so it was just really, really strange, but that's how I remember it happening. And I remember my mom's husband, Bill, I call my dad, him holding me and saying, I am so disappointed you're not a boy.
Wow. My mom said she was mad because I was not a boy, but she still named me Jesus after Jesus. because she was mad that I was not a boy. She had prayed for a boy. I get it. And the way they pulled me out through forceps, I was a C-section baby, and I also had to be an ESL from, well, all my life until I was a junior in high school. And then that's when I started proving to them, I'm not dumb, I'm not stupid. You know, I started taking all these AP classes, acing them. I know how that is, you know. Even to this day, my kids, you know, I had to tell them, hey, I do have these things going on. They call them disabilities here, but I think we're special because we do come into our life, when we're babies and also as a walk-in later in life with our abilities. These abilities are not taught. We come, to me, I think we come with these abilities. One moment, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I'm curious about your father, if I may tune into that just for a second so I get a sense of it. Now, your mom feels to me more bought out, but your father, in a sense, I can't get a sense of it. Sometimes I get Sarah Connor, like Terminator. He's raising you to be a survivor, you know, and with what you're going to get dealt with. Did he have foresight into, like, okay, this is what's going to happen, so this is how I'm going to best get her through it? Because he was very angry about the car situation, but then apologized when he realized it was an attempt, and maybe your, you know, destiny, you know, stepped in or something. So he was very strict on you, but yet he seemed to care, not just abusive, maybe. But he did bring you to these people to be watched. So is he just having to do this for his job, and because you are going to be taken one way or another, so he might as well navigate it? And do you feel like your father was in your best interest?
No, he never was. My mom abandoned, you don't know this part, but my mom abandoned us when I was 2.5 to 3.5, and my dad's mother and my father sexually abused me.
Oh, I see.
And my dad hopped on that bandwagon when the guy told my dad that she's pretty good at mouth jobs, that he would come in my room.
I want to cry because that's the same thing they said about me when I was raped. I was 16, I was in California, and I was a virgin. And it's like that's what we're known for, and that is disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm glad you're still here with us.
I'm glad you're still here too.
Can you
Chat too.
can you make
Yes.
sense of your junior year being gone? Because that's something I try to make sense of in my life. Like, do you feel it was more astral, you know, and having your memory erased at nighttime and being worked on through technology that way? Because you got your B plus, so you must have been in class. So were you living in a daze going through that year, and that's why you can't remember it, or you were having your memory erased and being removed from class, and maybe?
And
Do you
I'm
have
gonna thank you, Chad. I'm gonna add to that too. It's like some of us, they clone us, and then because like that picture that I keep showing when I'm a redhead, and well, I've always been a redhead, blonde and then red. But I was big, I was bloated because my mom said, oh, you were allergic to cortisone, and you would have these ear bleedings and nose bleedings. I think that was my clone. I was little, like 5 years old, 6 years old. Do you think that they also, I'm pretty sure they cloned us. I mean, I always talk about it. They leave our body here and then they take the other one of us out to do their dirty work, don't you? Do you see yourself as a clone?
I see myself as a clone and in simulations now. And but I do remember seeing myself as an alter in another country or in a city where I was a courier. And I remember being in
That's what I am.
and
I'm a courier as well, and the same situation, sort of. So okay, interesting.
do
That's
you
what
remember
Susan told
ever
me.
running down the street like for your life? Somebody was running after you?
I do, and I was telling, I don't know if Chad does, but I was
I have a strange memory, kind of like that, but it was a different yeah.
But it was like
all the time,
walls,
though, all the
buildings were
time.
walls. But were you in a male body or a female body, Veronica?
Twice. I have a male and a female body, and then the female body that's running is actually like in Yale or Princeton, and nobody's there because when I played the violin since I was in 4th grade, so I wanted to go to Juilliard, and I see myself playing in Juilliard, and I've seen myself in France, and I'm also patrolling in France, and I'm running. And ever since I was little, I hated men looking at me, and I would have these nightmares of men chasing me all the time as a girl. And then I have boy alters, and I have a male alter who's a German soldier, and I'm a male dressed in green, and I have my people in the back, and I'm like, hey, hold up, because there's another higher up coming to give me a a mission, and I'm like, hold on, guys, you can't listen to this. And then he puts his people up, and I put my men back, and it's snowing, and it's in Germany, and I sometimes wake up speaking German, Russian. I have a Russian altar. Her name is Ninoska, and no, she does not just cook butter; she kills as well.
My Ukrainian is a comedian that comes out. I'm telling you, or my Russian or whatever it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they teach us, is to speak accents.
Yes, I have.
You know, like we're speaking English, but with a heavy accent. It's like I can talk like this and everything is just fine. So that's why I knew I was in England.
Oh, wow.
I have that, and my kids do that perfect too. And I have German blood, and my daughter, before I found out that I had the German bloodline, because I did the whatever thing we'll talk about later, she took German in high school and picked it up like that. And when I was in Italy, I spoke perfect Italian. I have Italian blood, and it's like, and I heard and I understood the German too. And I had this thing, I don't know if you guys did, but I had to entertain my sisters when we were little because we were constantly traumatized as well by our parents. But anyway, I would put on these suits, just whatever, my mom's clothes, or I would put pillows in my stomach and my back. I would put my mom's wigs, and I would entertain my sisters because we would usually get beaten all the time. So anyway, when they weren't home, my parents, I would just entertain them. And ever since little, I couldn't even talk like that. You know what I mean? It's like I could do the country and swing, and hey, we're gonna do some steps today, and chew me some straw. I mean, they taught us to do this for the Assassin program, right? For the undercover, for the Black projects. Come on, Gloria, show us some of your your show.
My brother was stationed in Honolulu. This was in the 1970s. I think it was 76, 70, 77. Yeah, his daughter was born in 77. And believe it or not, folks, you could not call Hawaii without needing to go from a landline operator stateside to an overseas operator. So the charges were twice as much. So I thought, oh, and then I heard the operator going, hello, this is the overseas operator. How can I help you? And I said, I want to place, a call. Is this correct? No, it's, And so when my sister-in-law answered the phone, she goes, hello. And she said, go ahead, please. And then I took over and said, would you accept a collect call from Gloria Lee? And she said, yes, I will. I said, okay, go ahead now. So we were talking for a few minutes, and I knew how much money I had. And I said, well, I need to go because this is costing me money. She said, no, you call collect. I said, no, I did not. I did not. And it's really sound. And she thought that she said, you sound just like the operator. And it just clicked. And, I was in my 20s when that happened. So I could just pick up accents. And when I lived different places, like in Baltimore, I could actually start sounding like them without knowing I was sounding like them, and like I had been brought up there.
Okay, that makes sense, because when I lived in LA and I would go visit my cousin in either I'll go to Mexico or California or Texas, wherever. But usually when I lived there for about a year, this is when the Rodney King beatings happened, the earthquakes, the looting, the fire, all that. I came home speaking like a valley girl. So then my daughter was born, and then I would practice this accent on her. And I hung out with the white girls at U of A, and we'd go get tans and go work out at the gym and wear our little short shorts. And then when my daughter was born, I would practice with her, and now they call her the Valley Girl.
Did you call her Bambi?
Bambi. Oh my gosh, speaking of Bambi, you know that's a program. I had my kids watch Bambi over and over and over, and guess what happened to me? They did the MK Ultra thing, the switch, where we have the switch inside, where I ended my life, and I died for the 3 days. I was in the hospital for a month and a half. I don't want to make it about me, Gloria, but
no, I want to hear.
Bambi is a program, and they were like, "Mom's gone," but I came back. So all this, I mean, I knew it before, but it's just weird. It's just making sense right now. And
so I'm curious too, like with the Assassin, I have this something I was like maybe utilized between maybe age 5 and 15 or something like that is what I was told. But I do remember around that time there was a year where you can see in my eyes quite distinctly. I showed it to Veronica. You can see a spark and a shimmer, and I'm smiling. And then, but she hasn't seen the next year, because the next year it's gone. But I do recall getting in a Jeep accident, and I do remember getting thrown out of the Jeep. I was a little boy, maybe, my sister was maybe 2, I was maybe 4, maybe younger. But we lost the dog. The dog ran off, and we could never find the dog, Sadie. It was my precious, childhood puppy. And I'm very close to dogs, and dogs are a very sensitive subject to me. But I was told by Ivan or somebody else, I was told that I wouldn't do what they wanted to do behind the scenes. And so they threatened me, and they took away the puppy in my 3D life. It resonates with me. I feel like there's something to that, because there's always been a theme in my life with dogs, and losing them, or something that would, reading it in a book or seeing it in a movie, that's devastating to me. But I feel like that's some of the tools they use to get us to turn into the assassins, right?
Yes, that's when that's when your Dexter came in.
Mm-hmm.
That's when your Dexter Ultra came in, because when
my
dad took
maybe
his
like
life,
a Dextery type, yeah.
Yeah, and I see you, Chad. Like, I totally can. I see you in my mind, and you're like just going at it. You're pissed. You're killing. You don't give a fuck. And when my dad took his life, I was 13. So that's when they instilled the She-Hulk altar and all that stuff. I thought it was when I was in the police academy. But no, it makes sense with what you're saying now, Chad. And real quick, Gloria, I was telling you guys, I believe we also take over the men in black, and we act like them, or we are trained to do these accents so that we can take over their missions and be 3, like not 1, not 2, but we can be 3. Give me my freaking word back. 3 assets. It's like you're 1, and then you're 2. Jason Bourne, but then you're a 3rd. What do they call that? Come on, give me my word. I always tell Chad about this. Give me my word back. Come on, fuckers. You're a spy, and then the second one, and then the third one. What is that word?
Espionage.
There you go. So you're 1, 2, and then you're back. Okay, you're like, okay, I'm gonna spy for the US. Oh, and now I'm gonna spy for Russia. Oh, but now I'm gonna fuck all y'all. I'm taking over. That's how they taught. Having a hard time with this. I'm trying to explain it. Come on.
Relax.
It's like that movie. I don't remember the name
right now too. That's not helping.
Okay, what it is they don't want me to say this. Okay, so what I learned is to take over everything, for them to not use me to what they wanted. So I learned their tricks, and I turned them backward on them. I flipped it for them, and they don't like it. I will remember later, and I apologize to you and the
You're
audience.
taking control.
Yeah.
I remember when they had me in a simulation, I was able to consciously get out of 2 simulations. So they sent me into a 3rd simulation, and I was able to stop everything and see the guy from here down, see him talking into the microphone. Next thing I know, I'm in a lab strapped to a metal table, people in coats, and they were injecting stuff into my arms again. And it was just like my memory was wonky, but I still cannot purposefully control and get out of a simulation now. So they put injected something into me to where I cannot do that anymore. But in time I will. Go ahead.
When you just triggered a memory, and I was in the hospital, this is after a man he thought he had killed me, but I subconsciously said, I'm going to pretend like I'm dead. He kicked me in the head. I had 34 bruises here in my eye, my whole body, my mouth. I asked for help. They ended up taking me to the hospital, and all I remember is just hitting them, and it took 6 people to get me down. They put me in a maroon scrubs, and I was just kicking and just beating them up, and they wouldn't. And what did they have to do? They had to inject me. And we are able to escape simulation. So I wanted to see if you had something like this before we go on. I told Chad about this. I woke up. What happened is this is a memory that I had and it just happened last night. I'm with the ex-husband. They always use the ex-husband because they think that they can control me like that. I had a really beautiful a flower dress. I love flower dresses. I had my hair like brown and curly, like when I was in high school or college. And I was looking for my son. We had my son, and then there's a little girl with platinum gray hair, like up in a bun. And I don't know to this day if it's my daughter or not. But my son was maybe about 4 to 7 years old. And then all of a sudden we're in a lazy boy, and it's malfunctioning. And I tell him, he's right next to me, my ex-husband. I go, what's wrong with this lazy boy? I don't know. So this lazy boy takes me up. It's what they call the trip chair here. So up, 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 and my legs were all the way up. And I'm like, hey, get me out of this thing. And then so these men in coats come in, white lab coats, and then they finally take me out. They take me out of the chair. Then the next scene is my son. I'm still looking for my son. My ex is under a bed, in between a bed and a cover. There's another lady underneath the bed. Then there's another lady here. And he has these bronze little nuts and bolts. They kind of look like he's ready to do some kind of explosive. And the other young boy, he's like a teenager, maybe 21, 22. And this man appears. And he says, yeah, telepathically, he says, he's my, this is for the book. And I already told Chad about this. He's telling him, hey, you can't be doing that. You can't be, I don't want you to be in this thing doing explosives or whatever. There's another lady there too. And I tell the kid, I'm like, you can't be crossing the border either with tequila, because you don't know how the prisons are down there. They're really bad. You shouldn't even be joking about it. So that man takes him away. And I question my ex-husband and the lady, and they don't want to say anything to me. So then I'm looking for my son still. I'm taken to a room, a white room, where there's a screen here. And there's a lady that comes in, and she's trying to swoop me off my feet. I'm maybe like 6'5" in this dream, and I'm a female still. I'm me now, but in that. And she's trying to kick me, and I grab her by the neck right here, and I look into her eyes. She falls, and she's like, so then there's this man. I told her in my mind, I said, I'm going to kill you, bitch, if you don't let me get out of here to go look out for my son. So then that man shows up, and he takes her. And when I go outside, there's this hall of like a blue carpet, but on the side it has red and gold. You know those things that when you go to the bank, they're just like there to block people? Well, they're gold and red velvet, and they're getting ready. I don't know if it's President Trump that's coming or not, or who, some high official. And there's a line here of women and men dressed in their class A, all in black. They're military. They're very high class. Like, they are telling me, hey, you're supposed to be out here, but you're over here looking for your son. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck who these people are. I go and I run, and then I find my son. But when I find him, the man points to him. He's over there, but now he's older, and he's ripping himself out of this orange colored jumpsuit with letters, and he looks like Arnold. And what happened in my life here, my ex-husband took my son away from me. I would see him in the weekends, but he got an attorney to coerce, to blackmail me and stuff like that. We won't go into that. But so finally I see my son, and he was used in the military secret space, but I have my son now. So things like that, is what happens to me. And I am just.
So what is that though? Is that a simulated dream because your ex is in
felt
it?
real.
Or yeah, I know, but parts of it felt real. But why would your ex be in it? That's where I get confused. That's what I'm wondering. Is it a simulation and they're trying to stimulate? Because I've had those before. But then when you're talking about your altar, it feels like you're looking at an altar.
But
were you seeing your altar?
Body, though.
You're in your body then.
Yeah, I'm in
That's
my
the
body.
way I experience.
But I always see myself. I always go down with my eyes and see myself.
Oh,
I make sure. That I see myself. My hands are. I'll look in a mirror or a window to see myself. I always have to look at myself in my dream.
But I'm both a woman and a male altar out there,
yeah.
Gloria. I think you asked earlier. I have a very strong feminine energy, so I think that goes into some of my altars and stuff like that. And then male.
Because the reason why I asked is because I saw the person who was running down the street all in black with like a black fedora on, or almost like a Quaker hat, looked just like you. And you were running for your life because people were after you, and you were supposed to drop off the person was supposed to drop off information to me. But I just went ahead and went back into the recesses because the secret program, you're not supposed to be caught. You're not supposed to have any recordings. So I went back into the alleyway, into the shadow, and came out of.
I've taken recordings. I've taken recordings. Oh, wow. I've hidden recordings in books. I have taken much paperwork. So who are you talking about that you saw in your astral?
Chad's. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like Hitler. I always tell him.
No.
Yeah, beautiful, loving one, not the bad one.
You're not the first one to tell me that. Gosh.
But to answer your question,
I guess I better look and see what he looks like, and maybe dress different.
It's like right here.
It's my Dexter. It's the little Dexter in me.
No, I'll shut up after this. All right. Hopefully. All right. So to answer your question, Chad, the reason why they use my ex-husband, and he's in my dreams every night, because what happened with me in my life with him, they used him as a handler. So they have a digital twin of him, of me, of you guys. So they use his digital twin in the astral to try and keep me, you got to cook and clean for him. Like the other night, I was there cooking, and he was there, and then I took off, and then I ended up in Mexico or Bolivia, and I couldn't get back home, and I was worried because I couldn't go and cook for him. So then I started dialing his number. I had forgotten his last 4 of his phone number. He's had it for years. He has a new one now. But I told my daughter about it. He goes, Mom, that's his old phone number. I'm like, yeah, my subconscious remembered. And I was dialing it because I was worried that I hadn't been cooking for him. And then I'm in another country, and then I have another dream that right after that one, he comes in his police uniform, because he was also a police officer. And he's wearing these beads, these Mardi Gras beads. And I'm like, oh, you're wearing those beads because you were trying to protect yourself about me. So these mother effers, they think they can control us in our dreams. But if we tell them in our dreams, no, I know who you are, you have no power over me. Do they use cattle on your mother too?
They cattle prod me. If I tell them no, I get cattle prodded.
But I do get told a lot I wear hats in that position, that courier, that whatever you saw. So I do wear different hats. And then I think Veronica had a dream the other night about a fedora, somebody wearing a fedora or an Italian hat as well. So there may be it's weird that we have these dreams or these memories around the same time too, because I do think as above, so below, and I would like to say, I agree with you guys. I wonder, I feel like I'm home base. And even though they're living their own lives out there and maybe other dimensions and other timelines that don't even, whatever it might be, ultimately, I'm the one that can affect the change. I'm the one that can change them, and help them by accomplishing what you know, is set before me to accomplish and stuff, passing my test and stuff, because it's all simulation.
So it's
Your
really
turn,
interesting
Gloria.
to see,
Your
it's really
turn.
interesting to see you, Chad, because it's like, I know who I was supposed to pick it up from, and
You're
they
familiar
were,
to me too. That's why it is interesting to see you too. And I don't know why.
it's
That's what's so
because
weird.
we were
Because I know
in,
we never met before.
no,
So-
not in this, and not in our waking life,
Oh,
but
okay.
you were
Yeah.
my courier. had gotten your description, and there's your face.
And
And
then-
I was wearing a
Yeah.
fedora with a trench coat. I was, standing in black, and the walls of the buildings they were brick.
Oh.
So it was like, I was standing like in an alleyway thing, and you're running down the street. And then I was like, nope, I need to leave now. And it's like, I didn't know if he was
to
okay.
go because I don't run. I'm telling you, if I'm running, it's for a reason.
Yeah, men
Very
were
good one,
after
because I
you.
don't naturally run. I mean, I
Yeah.
run. I can run really fast, but I don't run away from things. I'll usually run towards it, if anything, you know.
I do too. I do too. Now, Gloria
Or
looks
stand
like,
my ground. You know what I mean? But I don't run. So
But as a courier, you don't stand your ground because you can be killed.
okay, that's what it was then. I'm like, if I'm running, there must have been a reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gloria looks
Oh, I
like the
see.
little girl that I was standing next to. Remember, Chad, I told you that when I have a memory of being maybe 7, and all of us have short blonde hair, just like the way her hair is cut. And we had these white gowns, and we're staring at this BAPH, Baphomet thing. And he's male, female with the boobs, and then the horns and all that. He has a staff. He has a child or something here, and the back is red. And then so there's a line of us going from me. I'm the tallest, and then it goes tallest all the way to the smallest, all in white gowns. And then later on, they take us behind that statue, and they do blood sacrifices. I have memories of being in a church, also being blood sacrificed, and also used to do exorcisms on people, so you look like a little girl that was next to me, Gloria. I don't know if it's you, but I'm just saying, like, the way you look to me, I don't know if you maybe will remember, or, all of us, like Chad was saying, all of us has pieces of the puzzle, and we're all in this together. So I'll let you and Chad talk.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
We're ready. Yeah, we're almost finished, I think. Yeah.
What else were we gonna ask Gloria before we go? Your books? How can
Physically
people
thinking.
get hold of your books?
I don't remember what you were talking about, but it may come later because I've noticed that. My book is, whoops, never mind.
What is like target?
Abducted into the secret space programs and Black Ops, and it's available on Amazon in Kindle Unlimited, Kindle, and paperback.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm interested. Yeah. Especially because earlier you said you were actually abducted. You remember going down a dark road, and then you remember coming out of a tunnel.
And that happened about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They would always walk me to my car.
Were you also sent men? Like, I call them the CIA love bites. I was sent many men so that way I can get information from them, and part of the sex kitten program. Were you also sent men or women?
I don't really remember. I just know that I don't like there's certain things about activity that I don't like doing at all. I have a complete aversion to it. So I don't know if it's most, and I know it's due to SSP, but I don't remember those parties, but I know my waking life that I was able to manipulate men. And I saw that, I'm like, where did this come from? I was like, no,
It doesn't mean you did it, right? But you knew you could. you know how to, right? You knew how to manipulate.
Right, so it's probably in the programs that I was trained to do that
Mhm.
because I was to get, I guess, relay information. But I know that with being a courier and then I was a spy, I would do the handoff or I would kill people.
Yes.
I would beat them up and I would kill them. So
yeah.
I don't know what transpired in the middle of that. And I understand that over time, more memories can come. And some people wanted me to go through the quantum therapy, and I don't want QHHT, and I don't want to do that. I want the
That did
memories.
that for me, and it did help.
Well, I don't want to go there.
Okay.
I have a problem trusting people with that
Oh yeah.
information because I know what can happen, especially nowadays. And if the memories are to come, they will come naturally. And if they don't, I'm not going to worry about it. To be quite honest, I just
You
want to
know,
leave it.
no,
Mhm.
I do get it. I think because I do have a lot of memories where I also had to kill people, obviously, that's part of the thing. I feel that sometimes we had to take over their bodies, and become them.
I don't know. I just knew that they would send me out to kill people. And then with going into the psychic assassin program,
Yeah.
I could see myself standing there, and I'm sure it was my altar, stabbing people with machetes, with swords, hitting people with billy clubs, and I knew how to,
Pencils.
huh?
I have also I use pencils in my dreams and swords.
I used a lot of house knives.
Mine's
Yep.
And
knife. Yeah, mine's knives.
So
And I
I
have
got
a
14
huge
knives right now.
aversion to seeing anything cut or sliced. I just
yes, and I
get away
only
from me.
have
Don't want to
one
see it.
sharp knife in my
But I
house.
know it's knives. Yeah.
And then we use ice picks too. And you can use, like, this is my craft one, and this is my craft one. It's not sharp. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
But
ice picks look familiar too.
yeah.
Anything, I don't even have a gun because I was proficient in hitting the targets.
Oh yeah. Especially at night, right?
Yep, night, day, didn't matter. Boom.
Yep,
Oh
they're
well.
gone.
Yep.
This was awesome. We got to do a part 2, Gloria.
Sounds good, but it will have to wait till November because
Okay.
my October is pretty well packed.
Well, I'm glad we got you on the show now, and we can visit each other anytime. We're in the same city.
I know we have each other's phone numbers.
Yes, I can't wait.
And,
I can't
and I'm
wait.
going to be looking into your books, so I'm excited about that.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you,
yes.
Chad.
Send me the information, Gloria, and we'll put it on the thumbnail. That way people can look at the book, because if
Yep.
you put it up, sometimes if you put something up, it has to be like really close to you. Can you try that again? Like put it on your face? Can you read it? Abducted into the Secret Space Program and Black Ops by Gloria Haas, Hass.
Beautiful. Wow.
And yes, I will
Wow.
set up. And what email can people, or do you have a website or something they can get a hold of you?
They can reach me at gloriahass5@gmail.com.
Perfect. And on Facebook, you're still on there?
Yep, I'm still on there. Gloria
Okay.
Hass 9. Yep. The
Well,
number 9
thank you,
afterwards.
Gloria. Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you,
Chad.
Veronica.
And thank you, everyone, for being on Codebreaker Real Talk, and go purchase her books. Love you guys. See you
Love you
later.
guys.
I want to be ya. Just kidding. Okay, bye.